Hey everyone, today's video will be on the live-action TV show Titans, which started in 2018 and ended this year of 2023. As the show ended last month, this review will try to cover the entire series. To be clear, it won't obviously encompass everything that has happened in the show. I will be trying to cover points that I think stand out in regards to certain characters, writing, etc. Also, apologies if I repeat or say anything similar that other YouTubers have said. Certain points just need to be addressed. At first hearing about the show, I will admit and say I was excited. I grew up watching the original Teen Titans cartoon. It was a compelling series, with complex protagonists, engaging plot lines, great action, stand-down antagonists, and decisive and memorable moments. Titans didn't really have that. To quote a friend, it doesn't hold a candle to the animated show. To be fair, given that the show was live action, they were understandably limited in what they could do for the show, and the show still didn't live up to what some of us hoped it would be. The action wasn't that great overall. Yes, it did have its moments in terms of fight choreography here and there, given that a lot of the action scenes were hand-to-hand combat. Unfortunately, this was sometimes the case with characters that are more defined by fighting with their unique sets of powers and abilities. It is true that they did fight with their abilities and powers sometimes. It was just not as often as it should have been. As I said before, because this show is live action, they were limited, and I understand that. We just saw that certain characters weren't utilizing what they could do like we were expecting. Or at least one. More on him in a little while. There is one thing I have to admit. I wasn't as invested in certain characters as much as others. Donna Troy, Hawk, just to name a couple. They weren't really the ones I was finding as much interest or hope in. Admittedly, I wasn't that fond of the actress choice for Donna. I don't know, I just didn't feel that Amazon presence about her in the show. But to be clear, Donna Troy is one of those comic characters I know less about than others, and that the character in the show for part of the time we saw her, she wasn't really into the superheroine or warrior role. Though given what happened, it's understandable. So perhaps I'm being too judgmental here. Apologies if so. Hawk was just this kind of brash and eager to fight character that was quite similar to how another character was portrayed in the show, we will get to later, that wasn't as engaging a character to me as others. That isn't to discount what happened to him though. It was a terrible way to go. Same with Donna. And the former really is disappointing because I'm a Wonder Woman fan, and seeing a character close to her and still her own unique character not being as interesting as I hoped was really saddening. As to characters that I was more interested in at first, everything wasn't as I hoped. Starfire's destiny in regards to a certain conflict with specific other characters whom we will get to later, I wasn't really so sure about. Perhaps I'm going to judge this show too harshly compared to the animated one, but I felt like Starfire's character and her part in this show wasn't as compelling. The story of her being cast out from her home and trying to find herself on an alien world was something that felt more, maybe grounded isn't the right word, maybe perhaps more understandable. Here, her being destined to stop a certain character event was something I had a hard time swallowing, though given what happened in regards to the storyline, it wasn't the hardest thing to witness. The whole Earth and Tamaran being united possibility that was mentioned in the last season was a kind of unique twist. That and her relationship with her sister. Blackfire being portrayed as being victimized by her family was another unique twist. Witnessing what happened when she was so young and her literally being an outcast among her family for what happened was tragic. This ended up with the two sisters coming to relatively good terms was at least kind of touching. It was actually one of the better differences between this show and the animated one. As to the character I was most looking forward to no one's surprise, especially for those that know me, Beast Boy was really disappointing. I get, again, because of live action, they couldn't utilize his total fighting as different animals for every fight scene he was in. But for most of his fight scenes, he was doing hand-to-hand combat, at least in the later seasons. Yes, we got some of his fighting in his animal forms, but for the most part, it seemed like they were just avoiding his shapeshifting a lot of the time and gave him very few transformations. I know they were limited in terms of what they could do. It just felt like they didn't put as much effort into his character as they did some of the others, which makes it worse considering how bad they did some of the others. If they made like his tiger form his go-to form for combat, others for different situations or different forms of combat, it would have been fine, as a tiger is obviously a very solid choice for a shapeshifter to fight as. Casual Geographic said it best. their God-striped delete button. And they even hinted at more forms that he'd take, and they didn't use all of them. He was also stuck with really slow transformations for the most part. He had to take all his clothes off till he got that suit in the last season. It reminded me of the all-too-common slow werewolf transformation. And for both Beast Boy and werewolves, I'm not a fan of this kind of transformation. And it gets even worse that the Red was having a part in the series, and Beast Boy would discover more about it and what it could do with and for him, especially when it saved him from Brother Blood. And it meant nothing. Nothing. It could have given him a method of successfully battling the antagonists of the last season with an even more powerful mystic supernatural power. But it wasn't even relevant at all to the final battles of the last season, even without a more direct link to the Red. Beast Boy is supposed to be one of the most powerful of the Titans, because we saw particularly in one episode of the animated show where he wiped the floor with the team, except for Raven, who had to be saved by Beast Boy. And part of me thinks that they should have picked another Titan for a spot on the team rather than Beast Boy because of how underutilized he was. As for the general writing, it felt like it was just all over the place. For some, it felt like it was just pushing up characters in ways that were just casting aside build-up, character possibility, etc. Two particular scenes and one character's time on the show really pissed me off, for just a couple examples of how bad the writing was. One of the scenes where Dick, as a kid, was where he killed a wolf. A wolf! For one, apparently animals being animals are fair game to be killed by superheroes, yet certain maniacs that seek genocide or enslavement aren't. And also, how is a kid able to not even just outrun a wolf, but let alone kill one? It was just another example of fiction screwing over certain animals and praising a human by killing them in a stupid way. The other was where Jinx was hyping up the elves, the ones she described as like the ones created by Tolkien. She warned Dick not to piss them off, and he straight up demolished them in a fight. At least let it be a toe-to-toe fight, but it wasn't even that. For the one character, it was Jinx. All the possibilities of her story and significance were destroyed. She was proving to be a capable ally of the Titans and an invaluable consultant in matters of the supernatural and paranormal. But they killed her off so quickly. They really screwed her character over too. Having another powerful magic user that understood the forces they were facing could have given more depth to the magic and supernatural within this fictional universe and how it was connected to certain characters.
Thank you, Titans.
And when it comes to the villains, they really dropped the ball with them, and how they presented them for the most part. Scarecrow was okay. I mean, they really played on the psychological fear part of him that's defining to the character. To be clear, Scarecrow is one of those fictional characters that I don't know much about, so this is one of those things I can't really say I'm giving a fully thorough take on. I'm just saying based on what I saw. Now, there's a couple of things that I thought weren't done right with him, was that he felt like a bigger and more effective threat than certain other villains. The widespread effect he had over countless people, not just the Titans, it made him dangerous and a serious threat. Deathstroke was done okay as well. We saw his brutality in his fight and killing scenes. The way he brings down the Titans on his own, like he did, really emphasized how much of a physical threat he is to anyone that gets in his crosshairs. He just didn't have the same presence that the character did in the animated show. That Slade was terrifying. The way he inflicted dread and agony onto the team with such decisive and vicious execution throughout the series. The Teen Titans Slade is one of the most iconic cartoon villains that have ever been seen. The sheer amount of physical and psychological torment he inflicted on Robin alone was immense, that even after Slade was dead, the little gift he left in his mask made Robin go through the hell Slade inflicted on him all over again. Comparing them, while the live-action Slade is brutal and dangerous, showing some signs similar to the animated one and even made the Titans split up for a time, it's just Slade from the Teen Titans was just so much more devious, ruthless, and precise that the utter terror he unleashed was far more traumatic and decisive, as even Trigon and his minions couldn't keep him from getting what he wanted. I will leave a few links in the description below to some videos that go more in depth with the Teen Titans Slade and just how much of an epic villain he was. I really need to do a video on just this version of Slade in the future. As for Mother Mayhem, she basically did what her role was meant to do. She was sadistic and driven to achieve what she wanted. Her tactics in building up power and manipulating her son and organizing her crazy cult presented her influence and enacting the cruelest methods possible of trying to break the Titans and string her son along to use the horn. Her power even made Jinx scared. Hell, she felt like more of a threat than the one she was trying to bring back. As for Brother Blood, this incarnation was surprising. Being Rachel's brother and someone feeling so hopeless that he's willing to do anything to be more than he was before was very telling about his character. So broken and pushed to his emotional and psychological limits by those around him made him a tragic character for most of his time on screen. He became so obsessed with wanting to be and feel important and powerful, he went to extremes that sent him over the edge and became the villain he was told he was destined to be. And credit to Joseph Morgan for his portrayal of the character. Definitely was a change from portraying the infamous Klaus Michelson. As to his father was the most wasted villain. Trigon was the most powerful and terrifying villain to the Titans, or was supposed to be. He was immediately dealt with in both of his attempts to prepare to take over the Earth. He was brought down so easily by his children. You're talking about the same character that went toe-to-toe with and even beat Darkseid. The Justice League have fought him and didn't even leave a scratch on him. In the Teen Titans cartoon, he made the team fight villainous versions of themselves to screw with him and for his own amusement, revealing a hellish kind of torture the group had never faced before. Let the Titans deal with Scarecrow, Deathstroke, Mother Mayhem, and Brother Blood before him. Build up to him, give hints to how powerful and cruel he is through Mother Mayhem, and when he is finally on the screen, it's obviously revealed that she's just a pawn to him. Instead, they just wasted him with trash writing. As for Red Hood, out of every character in the show, he was arguably treated the worst, or at least he was the protagonist that was treated the worst. He was hated by the other characters. He was humiliated and disrespected by them again and again, and the writers wrote him like Hawk, except worse, cocky, temperamental, sadistic, and even sexist. It only got worse when he became Red Hood. He became Scarecrow's hitman, and for so much of his time on the show, he was afraid of Dick. It felt like the writers were extremely biased against him. Just to be clear, many of us are biased towards characters in one way or another. I'm not immune to that, to be honest. It's just how they treated him. They really didn't show him as the complex and compelling character he is. Jason Todd isn't the heartless and cruel jerk he was portrayed to be. He's been shown to be a character with a big heart with a unique view on morality and justice. He's fought hard against both the Bat family and villains in doing what he believes is right. Born and raised on the streets, he has a great deal of empathy for the disenfranchised and disrespected. We see this with women specifically, as he's beaten men who have disrespected and hurt women in any way with ferocity. He even tried to save his mom, the one who was partially responsible for his death in his Red Hood origin story in the comics, without any hate. He did it out of love for her. Because of all of this, to me, he's the best of the Bat family and one of the greatest DC characters. And sadly, like a lot of DC fiction, this show did him dirty.
There is no curse in Elvish, entish all the tongues of men, for this treachery.
I'll give links to a couple of videos that are devoted solely to him and his character being the hero he really is. I hope to do videos eventually about specific characters and an analysis about them. I just think that you get a more in-depth understanding of him from these videos right now in the meantime. Titans had so much hype to it, and it was a major letdown. So much of the show was broken and written poorly that it became one of DC's worst projects. There were some good points here or there, it's just the bad far outweighs the good. And being a fan of the original Teen Titans show was so disappointing to see such a poor portrayal of the team that I grew up watching and loving. In the show, the Titans weren't together. Nevertheless, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Tell me what you thought of the show and all its characters, storylines, and more. I hope you liked this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, I hope you liked this video, and thank you for watching.